is Thursday, the 14th of, I don't know what month it is? November, year of our Lord 2019. Feels like December, yes. Yes, I did move the thermostat's actually over in Mrs. Mayor's room. I did bump it up. I don't know if it's going to do us any good in the next 35 minutes, but I kind of like it cooler myself, but it is, 66 is a little much.
A little much.
Yeah, pretty chill. All right, here's your answers from yesterday's work. Already, you've already checked your answers. You've already checked your answers against the correct answers. And now we move to number 10. Let's work through number 10 together. The mass of Earth is about 1.3 times 10 to the 25th power pounds. The Earth, anybody know, just out of curiosity, how far it is from, if we were to go through the Earth? How many miles would it be if I started digging till I came out the other side? How many miles? About. Give me an estimate.
300,000.
What is it?
300,000.
No.
No, it's 20,000.
No.
A
No.
million.
No. You didn't just say that. It's about 8,000 miles. Now, if we were to go around the world, how far is that?
25.
About 24,000 miles, close to 25. Which, that makes sense if you're a math mind because you know about circles, and you know that pi, you know, right? When you compare the diameter with the circumference, you multiply it by 3.14, so 8,000 times 3 point something gets you close to 20. Plus the fact you also know there's how many hours in a day? 24. So you know that, hey, that makes sense. 24 hours, it's about 24,000 miles around. And you realize that we're moving at about 1,000 miles per hour. You don't remember learning any of this?
No.
That actually checks out.
That we're,
1,000.
that we're, all right. Anyway, number 10, if the mass of the Earth is 1.3 times 10 to the 25th, the mass of Jupiter is 4.2 times 10 to the 27th. By the way, those numbers, the way we write them right there, don't seem like that big of a difference. That's a pretty big difference. About how many times greater is Jupiter's mass than Earth's mass? Well, they say, here's how we go about solving that problem. We write the quotient of 4.2 and 1.3 as a decimal. Work with the numbers first. If we did 4.3 divided by 4.2 divided by 1.3, you get, you don't have to work this out, you would get about 3.2, and then you write the quotient of the powers. What is 10 to the 25th, 10 to the 27th divided by 10 to the 25th? You got to go. 10 to the 27th divided by 10 to the 25th? Anybody? Come on, think. What is 10 to the 27th divided by 10 to the 25th? Everybody should be answering right now. Hold on.
10 squared.
10 squared. 27 minus 25. Part 3. Then you would write the product. You got 3.2 for the numbers and 10 squared for the powers. That's it, right? So now you're working on 11 through 28, and as you're doing them, I'm doing them. If none of these made sense to you, if you missed, did anybody get all these right? Did anybody get at least half of them right? Is there anybody like, man, I didn't get any right? All right. Wherever you stand in yesterday's work, as we do 11 through 28, hopefully it becomes crystal clear. So get to work, and I'll get to work, and if you have what I have, we'll be happy campers in 30 minutes.
I know the two bottom ones. It was 7 and 9.
Good job.
11 through 28, here we go. Please be working. Plus, do you ever notice time flies when you're actually working?
No, it's so slow.
When you're having fun
Yeah, it
and
goes
working?
slow.
When you just sit there and do nothing, it goes very slow.
No,
Like the old,
faster
the
when-
proverbial watch pot never boils.
Actually, it probably goes faster when it's that kid. How fast?
7,900. Okay, done. I'm gonna put the decimal point after the first non-zero digit, and I'm gonna include all other non-zero digits. So the first thing I do is write 7.9. I'm gonna multiply it always by a power of 10. How many places to get to the original number in standard form 7,900? How many places would I have to move it? 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna multiply 7.9 times 10 to the third. If you got that, for number 11, you're on your way. Go ahead.
Don't you have to add 2? If you do 3, it would be.
The original number was 7,900. So to go from here to here, it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, ready? Listen, Kira, listen, ready? I put the decimal point after the first non-zero digit. To get to my number, how many places do I have to move it? 1, 2, 3. That's it. Don't bring any more into it. That's it. 10 to the third. Number 12. The number is 8,100,000,000. You done with it? Or are you waiting for me to do it? Did you get 8.1 times 10 to the 9th?
Yes.
Let's go.
I'm good at those ones.
Decimal point after the first non-zero digit. Include all other non-zero digits. How many places would you have to move that to get to 8,100,000,000? 9 places times 10 to the 9th. Number 13, 2,130,000. So it's decimal point after the first non-zero digit. Include the other non-zero digits. Always times a power of 10. How would I go from 2.13 to the end of 2,130,000? From here to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2.3 times 10 to the 6th. You done already with all of these? LP? All the way through 28?
Oh, wait, no.
14. Move the decimal point behind the first non-zero digit. 3.12. Always times the power of 10. The original number is 0.0312. So how would I get to 0.0312? From where I'm writing this in scientific notation. I have to go 1, 2 places to the left. So is it going to be a positive or negative exponent? 10 to the negative 2. I'm sensing that we're catching on rapidly. David, how you doing over there? Here's a really small number. How many zeros is that? Hold on. That is 415. Would that be billions or 100 millions? What would that be? Tenths, hundredths. Who said I don't care? Oh, Kara.
Yeah.
Thousands, 10,000s, 100,000, millions. Billions. That's 415 billions. Wonder how powerful a microscope you would need to see something that is 415 billionths inches wide.
No, you don't see it. Unless you want to.
Or millimeters.
You gotta get like a-
Or millimeters.
What's the micrometer? That would be, that's like an atom.
Noctometer.
That would be like an atom.
I have
Yeah.
to answer.
Or is an atom even smaller than that? All right, ready? You gotta move it to the first non-zero digit 4.15, always times the power of 10. How do I get back to the original number? If I put the decimal point after the 4, I got to go back. I got to add, there's 6 zeros before this. So 1 and then 6 more zeros to the left. So Rachel says it's a negative exponent. 10 to the negative 7. Is that what you got? Let's go.
There's a lot of zeros.
What?
Number 16. Move the decimal point behind the first non-zero digit. Always times the power of 10. It's a really small number, so we're going to take that decimal point to the left. I was so worried. Yesterday I did that whole class and the record button somehow. So while everybody was out of my room, I had to do a I had to do a quick 10-minute pretend there were people out there. Well, Julie was out there. Yeah. And then Mrs. Henry came in. She was looking around like 3.42 times 10 to the, what do you got, Spence?
Which one? 17?
16.
16. I got 3.42 times 10 to the negative 8.
Yes!
I got that.
You all done? With all the way to 28?
I'm on 29.
I would say let's go again, but Brett's going to be saying that so much tonight that I'm picturing Brett's house tonight. Let's go.
I'm actually not.
And then
I'm
5 minutes later, Seth says, let's go.
I'm not at my house tonight.
Oh, we're at Walker's?
No, I'm not. I'm just not going to be at my house tonight because I'm going to be around Seth.
Uh-oh, the battle.
Let's go Steelers.
Wait, so is it you and your dad against Seth and your mom, or where's your dad stand?
No, my dad says
Okay. Well, with the Browns, you mean?
yeah.
He stands with this just in this instance. And your mom's a Steeler fan? How does that happen? How's that happen? You know, I've actually heard people get married, and one's a Ohio State fan, and the other one's that state up north. I don't even understand how that happens. Like, okay, you go on a date, right? And she says she likes that. Okay, so it was only one date. It's not like you don't have to go see that person. I mean, here you thought she looked so beautiful, and then she says that, and all of a sudden it's like, you see all these flaws.
Really brings out the worst in a person.
My dad wants it.
No, true story though. I didn't have a daughter, but my brother did, and when she started dating, he was kind of serious. He wasn't really joking. He was only half joking. That he considered it a character flaw in the guy if he lived in Ohio and he rooted for that team. I mean, he's like, what would cause you to do that other than your rebellious spirit or what would cause you to do that? You live in Ohio, but you're going to root for them. What? Like, you're not from there. You're just trying to be.
Oregon and Michigan. I don't understand.
Oregon is literally the worst thing I've ever been to.
No.
Anyway, are you done with 28 too?
I want 23. I want 93 catch up.
Okay, now we got to go the opposite way for 17 through 22. You got to take the scientific notation and make it standard form. So if it's 8.71 times 10 to the negative 2, you've got to move your decimal point 2 places to the left. So it's 0.0871, right? Number 17.0871. Scientific notation to the negative 2. Whoop, whoop. There, we got color and sound effects. Number 18. 6.35 times 10 to the negative 6. To go from behind the 6 all the way to in front of those zeros, it's point, how many zeros is that? Should be 5. 5.000000635. Number 19. Decimal point behind the 1. We got to move it 9 places. That's 8 zeros.
No, that's a lot, though.
Forgive me for not putting my whole number placeholder there. 0.80176. That's a really small number. Is there anybody that has any questions on 11 through 19? Because if you're able to do 11 through 19, you got this down pretty good. Until we get to number 23 and make sure you got that down. Number 23 looks complicated. Here's all you do. Do the 3 times 2. What's 3 times 2? Okay. And then do 10 to the 3rd times 10 to the 5th, which is 10 to the 8th.
Yeah.
So 23 is simply 6 times 10 to the 8th. It looks complicated because you got those parentheses. All you do is multiply the two numbers and then add the exponents because the bases are alike. You got like bases because the base is always 10. So number 24, 56 times 10 to the 10. I'm sorry, 11, wait. Oh, whoa, time out. Okay, 24 is more complicated. Here's 24. 8 times 7 is 56. You with me?
Yeah.
And 10 to the 6th times 10 to the 4th, listen, watch, would be 10 to the 10. However, scientific notation does not allow me to write 56 as 56. Scientific notation demands I write this as 5.6.
So then it
Yes,
10
10
to the 11.
to the 11.
Oh yeah. I remember that. How'd you get
Okay? When you multiplied the two numbers, you got 56. You had like bases, so when you added the exponents, you got 10. But this is not in scientific notation.
How'd you
Why
get
did
57?
8 times 7. This is number 24. Scientific notation does not allow us to write 56.
Okay.
The decimal point has to go after the first non-zero digit. Right?
Yeah.
So, since I moved the decimal point in 1, that forces me to add another power of 10. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because the decimal point for 56, we don't write it, but it would be right there. 56 and nothing, right? So we have to add a power of 10 to account for that decimal point. You sure? So if you know that, what'd you get for 25, JD?
65.32. 6.532 times 10 to the 13.
Almost. Almost. You're on the right track. You got, first of all, it's 6.552. You said 32. So that's a slight, that's not, you're on the right track. 6.552. When you multiplied those two together, hold on. When you multiplied those two together, you got 65.52, right? You with me, Sid? I'm on number 25. If you multiply 7.8 times 8.4, you get 65.52. Is anybody on 25? Already did it?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to multiply that by 10 to the 13. But wait, Bella, scientific notation does not allow us to write 65.52. The decimal point has to go after the first non-zero digit. So since I have to move my decimal point over here, that means I have to add one more power of 10. So it's 10 to the 14th. Number 26, 1.872 times 10 to the 14th. Same reason, instead of 10 to the 13th, you had to take 18.72 and move the decimal point to the left, which causes you to multiply it by one more power of 10. If you don't live in city limits, there's a good chance you have well water. That probably applies to at least 5 of you in here. 1, 2.
Wait, what?
If you don't live in city limits, chances are your family uses a well, a private well that's in the ground on the property.
There's one house outside of city.
Really?
Yeah.
But you probably still have city water.
I don't know.
Probably. If 15 million households in America have private wells on their property, how would you write that in scientific notation? Kiara.
1.5 times 10 to 7.
Let's go! She said that with confidence too.
Did I get it right?
Yes!
Oh.
Wait. Brad, you have to teach Kiara that let's go is a positive thing. It's yes! Number 28. There are a total of 1.2916 times 10 to the 7th acres of land reserved for state parks in these United States. How would you write that in standard form? 1.2916. Move that decimal point 7 places to the right. How many acres of public parks, state parks do we have? Noah.
12,916.
She's going to say it again. She knows.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I did that wrong.
Shh, listen up.
12,116,000.
12,916,000. 12,916,000 acres of state parks. Number 29. I just see the headline for number 29 that says number sense, and I can't resist doing it. Because what worries me the most in math classes is that kids learn rules and they just follow the rules. And we need you to develop number sense, which is why I always talk about mental math, to develop number sense. What's this say? Explain how you can tell whether a number is very small or very large when it's written in scientific notation. How do you know if a number is really large or really small if it's written in scientific notation, David?
The exponent is negative.
Then it's what?
It's small.
And the larger the absolute value of that exponent, the smaller that number is. And if the exponent's positive, the larger that number is, the larger the exponent is, the larger the number is. Pretty simple stuff. And that brings us to your homework. By the way, there has been a definite decision. Of course the test isn't tomorrow. We're not even done with the chapter yet. The test over chapter 4 is Tuesday. Tomorrow, we'll make sure you did review quiz 2 correctly. There's only 11 items, and you got 14 minutes on page 211. So if you don't dilly-dally, and you ask questions about something you don't understand, you won't have math homework, and you get all your homework done before 8:20. You'll be able to watch the game conscience-free. You won't have to worry about, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Just relax. Hopefully you're allowed to stay up past halftime.
What
are the numbers?
Review quiz 2, 211, 1 through 11. There's only 11 items.
I may not like that, but I'm not watching football.
I'll give you the chart.
Oh, I think that's
Brad,
right.
I pulled Brad.
Do that.
Brad. Probably thinks it's about 6.
8:20. 8:20.
Well,
Mr. Franklin, at least it wasn't like our game against Austin Town Pitch last year.
I'm
We
gonna
started
worry.
at 9
My stomach's been wheezing since last.
at night.
Your game.
Yes, our game last year started at 9 in Austin Town Pitch.
My
We had
stomach's
to-
been wheezing since last.
Oh, you know what? Because you were sixth grade.
Yeah.
Because I actually refereed a game this year at Marlington that we were there.
Were you repping one of our basketball games?
Am I doing one of your games? Where'd you hear that? Oh, yeah.
Wait, what day?
I don't know why I took that game.
What
We did the Columbiana game.
day? Please be.
Did you have one? I think you're against Letonia, maybe?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, that was probably
We're
one of
gonna
the
go
easiest
11
games we
and my
played.
prediction is 11-3 this year. We're gonna lose to
Crestview.
Okay, I don't understand that at all. Why would you assume you're going to lose any game?
We're gonna win all of them.
amen. Except for what we can.
I don't understand. Like,
Except for
Micah,
Camel.
Yeah, except for Karen.
Yeah, I thought we were
We're gonna get.
I guess Indiana. I thought we were gonna lose.
I
don't know.
Our coach said our young college coach, he said he was gonna coach Columbiana boys 7th grade, but he said they were terrible. Like
it's not very nice.
straight up told him that. You remember doing the dribbling drill on the music?
Oh yeah.
Was that referring to your class?
He's good.
No, he was referring to
me.
Columbiana 7th grade.
That's what I meant. The team you played on.
Oh yeah.
The last person that had this book really
Saw Carson last night.
Yeah.
I didn't see. Actually, I didn't
I see Carson a lot.
I saw Sadie a couple weeks, 3 weeks ago.
Saw that.
Football game.
Wait a minute.
Any questions so far? Because now we got to go. Now after doing all that exponent stuff, we got to go back to GCF, LCM. GCF, you have to find all the common factors. LCM, they don't have to be in common. You use all the factors to their highest power. Yes, sir.
Are you taking this in for a grade?
Okay, not like the other one, no.
Okay.
Which, by the way, will be in the grade book today.
Because I didn't know because I put a bunch of lessons on one. No, I didn't know because I put a lesson.
Because it's not in the grade book yet. What?
I put a bunch of lessons on one paper, so I don't know.
By the way, speaking of basketball and such, hope this doesn't apply to anyone in here, but Tuesday, the midterms come out, and certainly none of our student athletes are going to have to worry about being ineligible for their teams, correct?
I'm pretty close. Not
In
really. Not really.
history.
Not really.
I'm good.
I got
Frogger, could you please sit properly in your desk?
Yeah,
David,
David.
stop.
Stop calling me rotator.
Frogger, 2 pencils.
Waiting for questions to be answered.
It's all like you.
That's good to hear. Remember, before you can compare fractions or mixed numbers, you got to give them the same name. What's that mean? Same denominator. You wouldn't know that 5/12 is greater than 2/3 unless you named them both 12ths and you compared 5/12 to 8/12. Unless you used your number sense and you're like 5/12, not even half, 2/3, 5/12 is less. I must admit, review quiz 2 is a little, after all we did, it's kind of easy, isn't it? I mean, 7 through 10, they're not really challenging you with a whole lot. How many people eat popcorn at least once a week?
Nope.
Kind of. Yeah, skinny.
Like, it's a regular thing at your house that you always have microwave popcorn, you stick it in there. Okay, you're not fair because you're at the theater. Wait, nobody does eat at least once a week?
I wish. I eat it at least once.
Does anybody eat popcorn like every few days? You're like,
Yeah,
What a
I
bag
eat
of
popcorn
popcorn.
every time.
I don't know.
My mom, when she makes popcorn on the stove, she uses it.
you still make it on the
My
stove?
mom sometimes does, and it's that way.
That's
It's like when my grandma has popcorn.
When I was your age, we had to put a little oil in a skillet, and then we would dump the kernels on there and go.
Yeah.
We tried to make it over the
She still does it?
My grandma does that.
It kind of failed. Tried to make it over the
She puts more hot in it.
And then, listen, and then they had a new thing. It was called Jiffy Pop.
I have
I've
that.
done that
And-
before, and it's so
And it would come with a foil over top of it.
Yes, I've done that.
Oh, those were the days.
Tried to make popcorn.
This was pre-microwave days, because at your age, we did not have microwaves yet. That doesn't make me old, that just means it wasn't that long ago.
No, it didn't.
I thought he.
There's 7 minutes in my class.
Micah, you can I didn't talk about.
I can fly.
Okay, shh, who's older, you or you two?
Me. Because YouTube came out 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing 2007. So I'm older. 2007.
Who's older, you or the iPhone?
iPhone.
Me.
No,
It's
the
close.
I-
I'm just bringing up these things that you think are just a normal part of life that maybe you thought they were always around. Well, they've only been around as long as you.
Samsung.
Good for you, David.
That's already.
Yeah, Samsung.
Honestly, Samsung doesn't have picture quality.
I don't want to hear what you know and what you don't know, David.
What's he talking about knowing, math stuff?
He's saying a ton of numbers right behind me, and it's super annoying.
Math should
All right,
be like this.
David.
1 + 1 is 11.
I'm gonna give you, you should have memorized your fraction, decimal, and percent equivalents. What is the decimal for 3/8?
What?
3/8.
Oh, 3.8. 0.6.
3/8. Listen, can't be 0.6, David, because 3/8 isn't half and 0.6 is more than half. Number sense. 3/8, Bella.
What?
What's 3/8?
3.33. Am I right?
Sid.
0.275.
Point what? 375. What's half of 1/4? Shh, raise your hand. Oh my goodness. What's half of 1/4? Yes, 1/8. Half of 1/4. 1/8.
Half of 1/8.
Plus, David, give me your fourths in decimal form. What's 1/4? 2/4. 3/4.
0.75.
Okay, so eighths are a half. So instead of counting by 250s, count by 125s. 125, 250, 375, 500, 625, 750, 875. An eighth is half of a fourth. So a fourth is 0.25. 250. So what's half of 250? 125. So 1/8 is 0.125. 2/8 is the same as 1/4, 0.250. 3/8 is another 125, 375. 4/8 is the same as a half, so 0.500. 5/8 then, another 125, 625, 750, 875.
You're confusing me.
Goodness. Listen, this is not funny. Going into high school, I really believe that definitely over half the class should know their fraction, decimal, percentage equivalents.
I know, hard one.
David,
1/3, 0.33.
What do you call it? You can like
listen.
out like 2, 4, 8, 16, stuff like that. What do you call that?
Like it increases geometrically, you mean? Is that the word you're looking for?
Like you add it to itself.
You mean the squares? 2 squared, then 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. You're just multiplying it by 2. 128, 512.
My stomach's been squeezing since last week on Sunday.
96. 8,192.
I just feel like
16,384.
Yeah.
32,768. I don't remember either of them. Just kind of
1922.
So as I look across the room, after coming to a crawl this week in the book, at the end of the week, you're telling me as I look across there that review quiz 2 on 211, you got it. So tomorrow, we'll start working on, like we always do, the chapter review. We'll review half tomorrow. We'll review the other half Monday. So Tuesday, Sakely is ready to ace chapter 4's test.
I know.
Right?
Did you say that serious?
And if he loves YouTube so much, and he doesn't quite get it, and maybe you want to hear it from a different angle, a different voice, you type in negative exponents, and somebody will be on there with some video, maybe the way they say
I've done that
it.
before.
Here.
It helps. You could game me on or even one.
My Lord? My Lord's my daughter-in-law.
You don't have a.
Our-
I was like, you don't have, that's your daughter-in-law, not your daughter. I've never actually seen her.
Bye, Julia. Bye, Johnny.
Bye,
Bye, Sawyer.
Sawyer.